Please like and subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates.
The relationship between Turkey and the European Union is complex and multifaceted. Turkey applied for EU membership in 1987 and officially became a candidate country in 1999. Since then, the EU-Turkey relationship has gone through a number of ups and downs. While the EU has been hesitant to allow Turkey to join the bloc, Turkey remains an important economic and strategic partner of the EU. The two sides have had a number of disagreements over issues such as human rights, democracy, and migration in recent years. However, the EU and Turkey continue to work toward maintaining a positive relationship. History: the roots of the European Union-Turkey relationship date back to the 1950s, when Turkey entered into an association agreement with the European Economic Community. This agreement established a customs union between the two sides and laid the foundation for economic cooperation. In 1987, Turkey submitted an application to join the EU, citing its close ties to Europe and its desire to become part of the European community. However, Turkey's application was met with skepticism from many EU member states, who were wary of allowing a predominantly Muslim country into the bloc. Despite these concerns, Turkey was officially granted candidate status in 1999 and began the process of negotiating its accession to the EU. However, progress has been slow, and Turkey has faced a number of obstacles along the way. Key factors: 1. Democratic backsliding and human rights. One of the major issues that has strained the EU-Turkey relationship in recent years has been Turkey's democratic backsliding and its poor record on human rights. The EU has expressed concern over the erosion of democracy and freedom of expression in Turkey, as well as the crackdown on political opposition and civil society. 2. Migration and refugee crisis. Turkey plays a key role in managing the refugee crisis in Europe. In 2015, the EU and Turkey signed a deal to stem the flow of refugees to Europe by providing financial aid to Turkey and allowing Turkish citizens to travel to Europe visa-free. However, this agreement has come under strain in recent years, as Turkey has accused the EU of not providing enough aid to help manage the refugee crisis. 3. Economic ties. Turkey is an important trading partner of the EU. The EU is Turkey's largest trading partner, and Turkey is the EU's fifth largest trading partner outside the bloc. This economic relationship has been one of the main factors that has kept the EU and Turkey engaged with one another. 4. Turkey's geopolitical importance. Turkey occupies a geographically strategic position, linking Europe and Asia. Turkey has also played a key role in the fight against ISIS, and its cooperation with NATO has been important in maintaining regional security. For these reasons, Turkey is an important strategic partner for the EU. 5. The Cyprus dispute. Another issue that has complicated the EU-Turkey relationship is the long-standing dispute between Turkey and Cyprus. Turkey does not recognize the government of the Republic of Cyprus and has occupied the northern part of the island since 1974. The EU has been a vocal supporter of Cyprus and has called on Turkey to withdraw its troops from the island. 1. Democratic backsliding and human rights violations. Democratic backsliding and human rights violations have been a major source of tension in the relationship between Turkey and the European Union in recent years. The EU has expressed concern about Turkey's record on democracy and human rights, while Turkey has accused the EU of interfering in its internal affairs. This essay will explore how democratic backsliding and human rights have affected the EU-Turkish relationship, focusing on key events and developments in recent years. Background: the EU and Turkey have had a complicated relationship since Turkey applied for EU membership in 1987. Turkey became a candidate country in 1999 and began negotiations to join the EU. However, progress has been slow, and Turkey has faced criticism from the EU over issues such as democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Turkey, for its part, has been frustrated with what it sees as the EU's lack of support and acceptance. In the last few years, the situation has worsened as Turkey has experienced significant democratic backsliding and human rights violations. This has led to an increase in tension with the EU, which has criticized Turkey's actions and expressed concern over the erosion of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law in the country. Effects on EU-Turkey relations. 1. Stalled EU accession talks. Democracy and human rights are core values of the EU, and any country seeking membership must satisfy certain criteria related to these issues. Since 2016, the EU has raised concerns about Turkey's human rights record, including the imprisonment of journalists and opposition activists, restrictions on freedom of expression and the media, and the erosion of the independence of the judiciary. The EU's criticism of Turkey's actions has led to a stalemate in the country's accession process. In March 2018, the European Parliament voted overwhelmingly to suspend Turkey's accession talks. While the decision was not legally binding, it sent a strong political message to Turkey, highlighting the EU's concerns about the country's democratic backsliding. 2. Tensions over human rights. Turkey's record on human rights has also put a strain on its relations with the EU. The EU has criticized Turkey's handling of the attempted coup in July 2016, including the mass arrests and dismissal of civil servants, academics, and journalists. The EU has also expressed concern about the treatment of Kurdish minority in Turkey, the lack of progress in the investigation into the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and Turkey's military involvement in Syria. In response to these concerns, the EU has imposed sanctions on Turkey, including arms embargoes and travel bans on certain individuals. Turkey has accused the EU of interfering in its internal affairs and undermining its sovereignty. This has led to a deterioration of the relationship, with both sides accusing each other of being in the wrong. 3. Migration and refugee crisis. The refugee crisis has been another issue that has affected the EU-Turkey relationship. Turkey is an important partner in the management of the refugee crisis, hosting over 3.6 million Syrian refugees. In 2016, the EU signed a deal with Turkey to stem the flow of refugees to Europe and provide financial aid to Turkey. However, the deal has been criticized for being insufficient, and Turkey has accused the EU of failing to keep its commitments. Turkey has also used the refugee crisis as a bargaining tool to extract concessions from the EU, including visa-free travel for its citizens and more financial aid. This has led to tensions and mistrust between the two sides, with Turkey accusing the EU of not fulfilling its promises, and the EU accusing Turkey of using refugees as a political tool. 4. Political independence and rule of law. Another area of tension between the EU and Turkey has been the erosion of the independence of the judiciary and the rule of law. The EU has criticized Turkey's changes to its legal system, including the removal of judges and prosecutors, and the closure of media outlets and civil society organizations that are critical of the government. The EU has raised concerns about the politicization of the judiciary and the lack of impartiality in the legal system, which it sees as a threat to the rule of law and democracy. Turkey, for its part, has accused the EU of interfering in its internal affairs and ignoring the country's sovereignty. 5. Freedom of speech and media. Freedom of expression and the media have also been major issues in the EU-Turkey relationship. The EU has criticized Turkey's restrictions on free expression and the media, which have led to the arrest and imprisonment of journalists, opposition activists, and academics. The EU has called on Turkey to release political prisoners, restore freedom of expression, and ensure that journalists can do their work without fear of repression. Turkey, however, has accused the EU of supporting terrorists and undermining its national security. Democratic backsliding and human rights violations have put the EU-Turkey relationship under strain in recent years. The EU has expressed concerns about Turkey's record on democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, and has taken measures such as imposing sanctions and suspending accession talks. Turkey, for its part, has accused the EU of interfering in its internal affairs and using double standards. While both sides continue to engage with one another, the future of the EU-Turkey relationship remains uncertain. 2. The refugee crisis. The EU-Turkish relationship has been influenced by several factors, including trade, defense cooperation, and cultural ties. However, in recent years, the pressing issue of migration and the ongoing refugee crisis have had the most prominent impact on the relationship. The refugee crisis has created a complex political landscape that has challenged EU policymakers and the Turkish government. The refugee crisis and migration to Europe have had a significant impact on the EU-Turkish relationship. Turkey is a geographic bridge that connects the Middle East and Europe, making it a strategic location for migration and refugee flows. Historically, refugees from the Middle East sought refuge in Turkey, with the country hosting over 4 million refugees as of 2021. With many refugees looking to continue their journey to Europe, Turkey has become a transit country for illegal migration, putting significant pressure on the country. The migration of refugees and migrants has had serious implications for Turkey's social and economic structure, leading to political tensions and public discontent, as well as a significant welfare burden. Additionally, the sudden influx of refugees and migrants into the EU has put significant pressure on its social and economic systems. The scale of the refugee crisis tested the capacity of EU member states to provide accommodation, food, and medical care for the large number of refugees arriving. This pressure led the EU to seek assistance from Turkey, which has led to significant policy developments and agreements to manage the migration flow. One of the most significant developments in EU-Turkish relations in response to the refugee crisis has been the EU-Turkey Statement, an agreement signed in March 2016, aimed at reducing the number of refugees and migrants entering Europe illegally. The agreement outlines that all new irregular migrants arriving on the Greek islands from Turkey will be returned to Turkey, and in exchange, for each Syrian returned to Turkey, one Syrian refugee will be resettled in Europe. The EU-Turkey statement has been successful in reducing the number of migrants attempting to reach Greece and other EU countries, with Turkey preventing irregular migration by cracking down on smuggling networks operating on its territory. In return, the agreement facilitated the implementation of policies and funds to aid Turkey's refugee crisis response. However, the EU-Turkey statement has come under criticism, primarily concerning the challenges of maintaining the agreement's proper implementation and ensuring the protection of human rights in the process. While the EU-Turkey statement has assisted in managing the migration flow from Turkey to Europe, it has also had a significant impact on the EU-Turkish economic and trade relationship. For some years before the refugee crisis, the EU-Turkey customs union had served as an essential element both of mutual economic development and of advancing the process of Turkey's European integration. Integration into the EU market has been an essential source of growth in Turkey over the past decade. In light of the refugee crisis, however, the EU has been reluctant to expand the economic and trade relationship with Turkey despite increasing migration management assistance. With tensions rising from EU officials regarding human rights violations in Turkey, the EU threatened to withhold future economic investment and restrict modernization of the customs union with Turkey. Overall, the refugee crisis has been challenging for trade and economic relations, exacerbating tensions between the EU and Turkey and creating a significant economic impact on Turkey's economy. The refugee crisis has also had implications for the erosion of human rights and democratic values in Turkey. While the EU-Turkey statement demonstrates a policy approach to address the refugee crisis, it has worsened the human rights situation within Turkey and caused political challenges within the EU. Since the signing of the EU-Turkey statement, the Turkish government has arrested and detained journalists, human rights defenders, and opposition politicians, and restricted freedom of expression on social media and the press. The EU, in response, has criticized Turkey for human rights violations continually. Moreover, Turkey's recent military operations and reported violations of human rights in northern Syria have led to heightened concern regarding Turkey's human rights records and democratic institutions. The EU has increasingly expressed concerns regarding Turkey's protection and promotion of human rights, including the country's treatment of refugees and migrants within its borders, raising the question of Turkey's democratic rule. The EU-Turkey relationship has been challenged by the ongoing refugee crisis. The challenges posed by the crisis have tested and transformed the institutional and governance structures of the EU, including the broader regional systems and EU-Turkey relations. The challenges have caused political tensions within EU institutions and member states and between Turkey and the EU. In conclusion, the refugee crisis continues to shape EU-Turkish relations. The impact of the crisis has challenged the establishment and governance of the EU, tested cooperation mechanisms and institutional structures, and fostered political tensions. While the EU-Turkey statement highlights a policy approach to address the refugee crisis, underlying political differences remain a significant challenge for the relationship. As a result, long-term solutions focused on mutual cooperation and integration will be essential to ensure a stable and productive EU-Turkish relationship. 3. Economic ties. Ever since Turkey applied to join the European Union in 1987, trade has been a vital component of the EU-Turkey relationship. Both sides have worked to build a strong economic partnership that benefits not only their economies but also their political relations. The EU has been Turkey's largest trading partner, while Turkey has been the EU's sixth largest non-EU trading partner. However, this relationship has not been without its challenges. The two sides have faced numerous hurdles along the way, including economic sanctions, political disagreements, and issues related to human rights and democracy. This essay will explore how economic ties have impacted the EU-Turkey relationship. It will examine the history of the economic relationship between the two sides, the benefits and challenges that have arisen, and the current state of their economic partnership. History of economic ties between EU and Turkey. In 1995, the EU and Turkey signed a customs union agreement. This agreement led to the creation of a free trade area between Turkey and the EU. As part of the agreement, Turkey agreed to adopt the EU's common external tariff and to eliminate tariffs on industrial goods. The customs union led to a significant increase in trade between the EU and Turkey. In 1996, the EU was Turkey's largest trading partner. By 2006, bilateral trade between the two had tripled. In 2019, the EU remained Turkey's largest export and import partner, accounting for 32% of Turkey's total trade. Benefits of economic ties. 1. Trade and investment. The economic ties between the EU and Turkey have brought significant economic benefits to both sides. Since the customs union, trade between the EU and Turkey has increased fourfold, reaching €140 billion in 2019. The EU has been a significant market for Turkish exports, mainly for textiles and clothing, machinery, and transport equipment. Similarly, the EU is Turkey's biggest foreign investor, with almost €123 billion of Turkish assets held by EU companies. This has resulted in a significant increase in foreign direct investments in Turkey, including new factories, infrastructure, and services. Investment by the EU has helped increase employment opportunities and raise living standards in Turkey. 2. Stability and security. Turkey's role as a strategic ally of the EU has been another essential factor in the two sides' economic partnership. Turkey has been a crucial partner in managing regional conflicts and turmoil, including the Syrian refugee crisis. Turkey's strategic position at the crossroads of Europe and Asia has also been significant in promoting stability, security, and energy cooperation between the EU and Turkey. 3. Tourism. Turkey is a major tourist destination for EU citizens, attracting millions of European tourists each year. The number of visitors from the EU to Turkey reached about 6.4 million in 2019. This has boosted Turkey's tourism industry, which is a vital source of revenue for the country. Challenges to economic ties. 1. Political frictions. Despite the significant economic benefits, the EU-Turkey relationship has been fraught with political tension over the past few years. Turkey's stance over the Syrian crisis and the refugee crisis, along with the country's shifting political landscape under President Erdogan, has created pressures that have turned the Turkish government away from the EU. The main cause of tension came in 2016, when Erdogan's government faced an attempted coup, which was followed by a government crackdown on political opponents, civil society activists, journalists, and the judiciary. This led to a massive deterioration in the rule of law, human rights, and freedom of speech in Turkey. 2. Human rights. The EU has raised concerns about human rights and democracy in Turkey. Turkey's crackdown on opposition, media, and human rights groups have raised concerns in the EU, which has criticized Turkey's commitment to democracy and human rights. These concerns have led to a cooling of relations and a reassessment of the EU's relationship with Turkey. 3. Migration. Another significant challenge to the economic relationship between the EU and Turkey has been the migration issue. Turkey hosts more than 3.6 million refugees from Syria, which has put considerable pressure on the country's economy and infrastructure. As part of the deal with the EU to control migration, Turkey received €6 billion in financial aid to help care for refugees. However, there is a growing concern that Turkey may break the deal and allow refugees to cross into Europe, leading to a possible new migration crisis. Current state of economic partnership. The relationship between the EU and Turkey remains under considerable strain. The political tensions and challenges mentioned above have put a considerable cloud over the future of the relationship. While economic ties remain strong, the issues around human rights, democracy, and freedom of expression are adding considerable strain. The EU has made it clear that any further membership negotiations with Turkey have been suspended, and sanctions have been imposed on the country because of its drilling activities in the eastern Mediterranean. Despite this, there have been steps taken to improve the relationship between the EU and Turkey. During a meeting in May 2021, the EU and Turkish leaders agreed to improve ties, highlighting the importance and benefits of the partnership. The EU-Turkey relationship has been shaped significantly by economic ties. The Customs Union Agreement has brought significant benefits, promoting trade and investment, stability and security, and bolstering tourism. The two sides' economic partnership has faced challenges from political frictions, turmoil, and issues related to human rights and democracy. For Turkey's geopolitical importance, Turkey has always been an important player in the geopolitical landscape of the region. Located at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, and with access to both the Mediterranean and Black Sea, Turkey has traditionally been a bridge between different cultures, religions, and civilizations. Its strategic location has therefore been a key factor in shaping the country's relationship with the European Union, and has had significant implications for both parties. The EU and Turkey have had a complex and often contentious relationship since Turkey first applied for accession to the European Economic Community in 1987. The EU's response to Turkey's application was lukewarm, and it was only in 1999, at the Helsinki summit, that Turkey was recognized as a candidate country. Negotiations for accession officially began in 2005, but progress has been slow and controversial due to a range of political, economic, and social issues. One of the key factors that has influenced the EU's approach to Turkey's accession has been Turkey's strategic importance. As a large Muslim country, Turkey has the potential to play a crucial role in bridging the divide between the West and the Muslim world. Its proximity to the Middle East and Central Asia also makes it a valuable partner for the EU in terms of energy security and regional stability. At the same time, however, Turkey's strategic importance has also created tensions in its relationship with the EU. Turkey has long been viewed as a regional power, and some EU member states have expressed concern about its ambitions and intentions. In particular, Turkey's relationship with Russia has been a source of concern for some EU member states, who fear that Turkey's growing ties with Moscow could undermine Western unity and security. Another factor that has impacted the EU-Turkey relationship is Turkey's domestic politics. Turkey is a democratic country with a vibrant civil society and media, but it has also faced significant challenges in recent years. The government's crackdown on political dissent, the media, and civil society following the 2016 coup attempt has been a major source of tension with the EU, which has criticized Turkey's slide towards authoritarianism. The refugee crisis has also been a key factor in shaping the EU-Turkey relationship. Turkey has been hosting millions of Syrian refugees since the civil war broke out in 2011. Its close proximity to the conflict has made it a natural destination for refugees, but it has also created enormous challenges for Turkey. The EU has provided significant financial and logistical support to Turkey to manage the refugee crisis, but the EU's response has been criticized for being inadequate and insufficient. The EU has also been critical of Turkey's human rights record. The EU has repeatedly called on Turkey to respect basic human rights, including freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and the rule of law. The EU has criticized Turkey's record on these issues, and has urged the government to release imprisoned journalists, academics, and activists. Turkey has responded by accusing the EU of interfering in its internal affairs. Despite these challenges, the EU and Turkey continue to cooperate on a range of issues. The two sides have a customs union agreement, which allows for the free movement of goods between Turkey and the EU. They also work together on a range of security issues, including counterterrorism, and they are partners in NATO. In addition, Turkey and the EU continue to negotiate on political and economic reforms, with the aim of bringing Turkey closer to EU standards and values. In 2016, the EU and Turkey signed a controversial refugee deal, which aimed to stem the flow of refugees crossing from Turkey to Greece. Under the deal, Turkey agreed to take back migrants and refugees who cross into Greece illegally. In return, the EU pledged to provide significant financial assistance and to accelerate Turkey's accession process. The deal has been criticized by human rights groups, who argue that it violates international law and puts refugees at risk. The refugee deal has also been a source of tension between the EU and Turkey. Both sides have accused each other of not fulfilling their obligations under the deal. Turkey has complained that the EU has not provided the promised financial assistance, while the EU has criticized Turkey for not doing enough to prevent refugees from crossing into Greece. Overall, Turkey's geopolitical importance has had both positive and negative effects on its relationship with the EU. On one hand, Turkey's strategic location and role as a regional power have made it a valuable partner for the EU on a range of issues, from energy security to counterterrorism. On the other hand, Turkey's ambitions and growing ties with Russia have created tensions with some EU member states. In addition, Turkey's domestic politics and human rights record have been a source of concern for the EU, and have hindered progress in its accession negotiations. Despite these challenges, the EU and Turkey remain important partners. The two sides continue to work together on a range of issues, and there are signs of renewed political dialogue and cooperation. However, the relationship remains complex and contentious, and the future of EU-Turkey ties will depend on a range of political, economic, and social factors. 5. The Cyprus dispute. The Cyprus dispute has had a significant impact on the relationship between the European Union and Turkey, dating back to the island's independence from Britain in 1960 and its subsequent division into Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot communities. The root of the conflict is the claim of the Greek Cypriot government to be the sole legitimate authority on the island, while the Turkish Cypriots seek recognition and equal rights. Turkey's role in the dispute as a guarantor power for the Turkish Cypriot community has added a layer of complexity to the issue and further strained relations with the EU. The division of Cyprus began in 1974, when a Greek Cypriot coup supported by Greece led to a Turkish military intervention. The result was the establishment of a buffer zone, known as the Green Line, dividing the Greek Cypriot south from the Turkish Cypriot north. Turkey eventually recognized the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus as a separate state in 1983, but no other country in the international community has done so. The Greek Cypriot-led Republic of Cyprus became a member of the EU in 2004, causing tension in Turkey's bid for EU membership. The Cyprus issue has been a recurring obstacle to Turkey's accession to the EU, as the EU requires a resolution of the conflict before any further progress can be made. The issue has been a source of frustration and contention between Turkey and the EU, with Turkey objecting to what it perceives as the EU's bias toward the Greek Cypriot side of the conflict. One of the most significant impacts of the Cyprus dispute on the EU-Turkey relationship is the frequent suspensions and setbacks in Turkey's accession negotiations with the EU. Since Turkey's application for membership in 1987, negotiations have progressed slowly and intermittently, with various issues such as human rights, freedom of expression, and the Cyprus conflict obstructing the process. The EU's objection to Turkey's continued military presence in northern Cyprus has been a particularly contentious issue in the negotiations. Turkey maintains a significant military presence on the island, with a reported 30,000 troops stationed in the TRNC. Turkey argues that it has a legitimate security interest in the region and that its military presence is necessary to protect Turkish Cypriots from potential aggression. The EU, on the other hand, sees Turkey's military presence as an obstacle to finding a resolution to the conflict and as a violation of the sovereignty of the Republic of Cyprus. The EU has called for the complete withdrawal of Turkish troops from the island and the dismantling of the TRNC. In recent years, negotiations between the two sides have been further complicated by the discovery of hydrocarbon reserves in the waters around Cyprus. Turkey has objected to the exploration activities of the Republic of Cyprus, arguing that the Turkish Cypriots should have a share of the economic benefits. Turkey has also sent its own exploration vessels to search for oil and gas in the region, leading to tension with both the EU and the Republic of Cyprus. The disputed territorial waters have led to the EU imposing sanctions on Turkey in 2019, including the suspension of high-level diplomatic dialogue and a reduction in financial assistance. Turkey has responded by accusing the EU of supporting the Greek Cypriot side and has called for a fair and equitable solution to the issue. The Cyprus dispute has also affected Turkey's relations with individual EU countries, particularly Greece and Cyprus. Turkey's drilling activities in the waters off Cyprus have led to Greek and Cypriot objections and increased tension in the region. Turkey and Greece have a history of territorial disputes, and the Cyprus issue has further exacerbated these tensions. Furthermore, the dispute's impact on the EU-Turkey relationship has been felt in wider areas of cooperation, such as trade and migration. Turkey is a crucial partner for the EU in managing migration flows, and the two sides signed a deal in 2016 to limit the number of migrants entering the EU. However, Turkey has threatened to withdraw from the agreement in response to what it perceives as a lack of support from the EU in the Cyprus dispute. In conclusion, the Cyprus dispute has had a significant impact on the EU-Turkey relationship, leading to frequent suspensions and setbacks in Turkey's accession negotiations with the EU. The dispute has also caused tension with individual EU countries and affected wider areas of cooperation, such as trade and migration. The EU's insistence on a resolution of the conflict and the withdrawal of Turkish troops from northern Cyprus has been a significant source of contention, with Turkey arguing that it has a legitimate security interest in the region. The discovery of hydrocarbon reserves in the waters around Cyprus has further complicated the issue, leading to increased tension and sanctions from the EU. A resolution to the conflict remains elusive, and the Cyprus dispute will continue to be a significant obstacle to Turkey's EU membership aspirations. Overall, the relationship between Turkey and the EU is complex, with a number of factors shaping the two sides' interactions. While there have been some disagreements over issues such as democracy, human rights, and the refugee crisis, the EU and Turkey continue to maintain close economic ties and work together on issues such as regional security. Despite Turkey's application for EU membership being stuck in deadlock, both sides continue to work to improve their relationship and address the challenges they face together.